Hey, thanks so much for stopping by. I am just about to make one of my favorite recipes that I think is so fun. This bar of soap started with beef fat. Does that sound strange? Beef fat is actually one of the most nourishing things for your skin. And this tallow soap recipe is unique because it uses only tallow for the fat part of the recipe. When you make soap with just tallow, it turns into the most amazing, creamy, luxurious soap bar. You can make this with essential oils, or you can add dried herbs, or both, or you can leave it completely plain, whatever you feel like. But as you may already know, tallow has amazing benefits for skin, and this has been a popular ingredient for soap making for centuries. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started and bring you along as I make this. You will need a scale for this recipe. You'll need a handful of other soap making supplies that I'll show you as we go, and down in the description I'm going to have a link to everything that I'm using here so that you can easily go grab it and make this yourself. So the first thing that we're going to do is weigh out the beef fat that we're going to be using for the recipe. This is tallow. So this is tallow that has been rendered from beef fat. And if you have raw beef fat that you want to render into tallow, I have a bunch of resources on how to do that. So check out the description box for links to how to render your own raw beef fat into tallow. And if you have already rendered tallow, then it's gonna look something like this. It might be in a chunk like this if you did it yourself, or it might be in a jar or a bucket if you bought it. In any case, we're gonna start by weighing out the amount of tallow that we need for this recipe. In soap making, everything is done by weight. It's very important for it to be precise so that the lye conversion of the fat or oil into soap can happen properly. But we need 32 ounces of tallow for this recipe. And I am going to I've actually been scooping out of the inside of this just because I like how it looks on my counter. I haven't actually started taking slices of it yet, so I'm gonna see if we can continue on with that and just scoop out what we need from the center. It is a hot day here today. Oh wow. Okay, I need to switch over. I was on grams for sourdough. I need to switch over to ounces. There we go. Now we're on ounces. Okay, got a little ways to go here. We'll see how we do scooping. I might have to switch to slicing. You know what? I think we're gonna slice. So we're gonna turn this over. I'm gonna go back to that knife that I originally got. And we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and go ahead and slice this beautiful tallow cake. But that's okay because I'm actually rendering more right now as we speak. So I'll have another one to display on my counter soon enough. So we're going for 32 ounces of tallow. Once we have that measured out, we're going to need to get it melting. I have my crock pot over here plugged in. And I'm going to add my tallow into the crock pot to get that melting. We're getting close. We're at 18. Almost there. 31, 32, yay. Okay, so now that we have that, we are going to add it right into our crock pot that is heating up nicely. I started it on high because I wanted to make sure it was warm, but then I turned it down to keep warm just now because I don't want it too hot. When it's melted, I want it to end up at about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't want it too hot. All right, so that's gonna melt while we weigh out the next thing. So the next thing is going to be water. We're gonna be making our lye and water mixture. A common question that comes up when you're making your own soap is, why are we using lye? You have to be so careful with it. You have to wear safety gear. It can burn your skin. Isn't this a bad idea to be working with it and using it to make soap? Is the soap dangerous? All these kinds of things people wonder about, which are valid questions. So the first thing that I'd like you to know is that there is no lye in the finished soap. So the job of the lye is to convert those oils and fats into soap. It actually turns with a chemical reaction. It turns those fats and oils, in this case tallow, into soap. Without lye, you just have tallow. And you can't like lather, you can't wash anything with tallow, it's just fat. But when you add lye in the right process that I'm going to show you, it magically turns that tallow into soap that can lather and clean and wash and all that. So that's why we use it. If you don't use it, you won't have soap. And the job of the lye, again, is to convert those fats into soap. So once that conversion process has happened through the curing process, there is no lye in the finished soap. It has done its job, converted all that tallow into soap, and then it's gone. So you don't have to worry about safety and things like that. So hopefully that puts your mind at ease a bit. Next, we need 12.16 ounces of water. And the container that we are choosing for the water is important. We want something that's going to be heat safe. Something that works really well is like a sturdy plastic bucket. That's what I use. So 12.16 ounces of water we are weighing out into our bucket. And the reason why you have to be so precise with your measurements for soap making is because the amount of lye and fat needs to be just right so that that conversion happens, so that the soap making conversion of that fat into soap happens at the exact right amount. Because for soap that's going to be used on your skin, you don't want something that's totally, completely cleansing, like maybe you would for laundry soap or even dish soap, where you don't want any unconverted fat left behind. But for your skin, you do want some moisturizing properties. So this recipe has an 8% super fat. And what that means is it converts the lye converts all the tallow into soap, minus 8% stays as unconverted tallow. So you get just the right amount of skin moisturizing, conditioning, nourishing properties every time you use this soap on your skin. Okay, so now we have our water measured out. Next, I'm going to don my safety equipment. So I have eye protection, and I'm wearing gloves. Sometimes people choose to wear long sleeves for this too. I do encourage that. It is a really hot day here today though. And I've made soap so many times. I am confident that I can be careful enough, but the official recommendation is use long sleeves too, just so that you're aware. So next we have to weigh out our lye that's going to go into our water. And for lye, we need 4.2 ounces. I like to use these disposable red Solo cups for my lye. Whenever I'm handling lye, I make sure I have no kids or pets around. And the reason for that is lye is very, very alkaline, so it can burn your skin if it gets onto your skin. And that's why we're so careful with it. We want 4.2, perfect. All right, now this next step has to be done outdoors. It's very important to do this step in the correct order. The lye has to go into the water, and you can remember that by the snow falls on the lake. The lye is like your snow, your white dusty snow, and your water is your lake. So the water falls onto the lake. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix this into our water outdoors, and then we'll be able to come back. And you know what? We're actually going to wait just a little bit because my tallow is not completely melted here. Bump up that heat just a little bit so that it gets going. And so I'm going to come back to that step. Okay, now you can see that the tallow is completely liquid and it's not too hot. It's right around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and so it's going to hold that in the warm crock pot while we go on to the next step of mixing our lye water. Okay, so I have my safety gear on, and then the order again is very important. The lye goes into the water, and I'm outdoors. The reason for being outdoors is because it will make some fumes as it mixes. It gets kind of hot. So you'll see that when you add the lye to the water and you start mixing it, It'll get kind of cloudy at first, and then it will turn clear. And we're just going to mix until all of the lye is dissolved into the water. And it can take a little bit for it to get all the way dissolved. Usually not super long, but once it's all the way dissolved, it's come from cloudy to clear, then I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and just let that sit for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, we will be ready to do the next step and add it into our tallow. So at this point, our tallow is liquid. It is around 100 degrees. It's a little lower, which is fine because the lye water is going to be warm enough to kind of bring that up the rest of the way. And then the lye water has been sitting outside for 10 minutes, so it should be in really good shape to come in and be combined. After 10 minutes, it should be roughly around 100 degrees Fahrenheit as well. All right, so wearing all of my safety gear, eye protection, rubber gloves, long rubber gloves. I did talk about long sleeves. I feel like if you have a long rubber glove, that goes a long ways. That's why I'm okay with not doing long sleeves, but the official recommendation that I have to say is long sleeves just because it is good. So then we're going to pour our lye water into the tallow, the melted tallow in the crock pot, just like that. I'm going to set that aside. All of this will be washed later on. Next, I'm going to grab my immersion blender, and we are going to mix the tallow and lye water mixture until it comes to what is called trace. Trace is when it's a light pudding consistency where you'll be able to pick so stick your immersion blender in there, pick it up, drizzle some on top of itself, and you can see it sitting on top of itself. So I will show you up close what that looks like. And if you can see, I'm going in a figure 8 pattern. I find that that works the best. Okay, so now you can see what it looks like, where it's like a light pudding consistency, and you know it has reached trace when you can pick it up. See how I'm able to pick some up and pour it on itself, and you can see the soap mixture sitting on the surface when it falls back down onto itself. You can see some sitting onto the surface. That's when you know that you've reached trace. At this point, we can go ahead and add essential oils if we want, or you can keep it plain, either way. I'm going to be adding lavender essential oil. So for this recipe, you need 1.5 ounces, which would be 3 tablespoons. So I'm just going to add that, and then I'm going to mix again just enough until all of that is incorporated. And now we are ready to add this into our soap mold. So I have my mold here. You'll have to excuse its appearance. I've used it to make many batches of soap, but I really like these because they have a wooden box on the outside that gives it nice support, and then it has a silicone piece on the inside that you can pull out. It's really easy to pop the soap out of later. And I like these molds because then you can use a slicer, which I'll show you when we get to that step, to slice them into bars. It's really fun. But we're going to go ahead and just pour our soap mixture into the mold. And you don't have to feel stressed or anything, but you do have to, it's a good idea to try to work a little bit quickly. Just don't let it sit around is basically what I'm trying to say. Because you can feel how this is already starting to solidify. So I just always make sure that it's nicely spread out in there. All these will go to get washed. A common question is, can I use the same equipment that I use for food in my kitchen for soap making? And since I make a lot of soap, I do have separate equipment, but I have heard that if you wash everything very well, like put it through the dishwasher or wash very well with soapy water, then it should be fine to use both. That's what I heard when I did my research. But of course, if you plan on really getting into it, it is nice to have separate equipment for it. The next step is to put some wax paper over the top of this. And actually, before I do that, I want to do something else really quick that can be super fun. So you can add dried herbs, flowers, different things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and actually sprinkle on some lavender flowers onto this one. It's got lavender essential oil in it already, so we'll get that. And then one side of the soap bar will have these lavender flowers on them, which I think will be really beautiful and fun. And then I'll actually just use this wax paper to kind of press those down in there so that they really stick to that soap mixture. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is take a towel and just wrap the mixture in the towel. And this just helps the soap mixture cool slowly. That can just really help with nice results. Now this is going to sit in here for 24 hours. And then after that time is up, we're going to unmold them, unmold the loaf, slice it into bars, and then it can start its curing time. So I will show you that step once we are to that point. All right, it has been 24 hours since we poured the soap into the mold. It's been sitting nicely and it is ready to slice. It is a good idea to keep that 24-hour time frame just because the soap bars harden, and after about 24 hours, they will be quite a bit harder, which means more difficult to slice. But around 24 hours is a really great spot. It smells really good. I can't wait to see what it looks like sliced with the lavender flowers on top. So you get to just pull the silicone insert out of this style of mold. Of course, there's other types of molds that you can do where you just pour them into little cavities and pop them out, but I like this one. I love slicing the soap. I think it's so fun. And I just really like how the finished bars look this way. And then you get more options of little things that you can add, like we did this time. Okay, so the best thing, so some of my lavender flowers are gonna fall when I do this, which is fine and expected. So I'm just gonna shake off some of those loose ones over there and then set it this way and carefully pull the mold off. If you try to slice it too soon, when it hasn't been quite 24 hours, it can be too soft to work with, and just the process of taking it out of the mold can kind of squish it and deform it. So it's another reason why 24 hours is the perfect time frame for slicing this type of soap. All right, and then I usually like to slice these size of soap loaves into 8 pieces. So I start by down the middle, then each of these halves in half. If you wanted to be very, very precise, you could get a ruler, like maybe if you were selling it and you wanted to make sure that everybody got exactly the same size bar, but I'm just eyeballing it. So then each of those quarters in half will make 8 soap bars. There there we go. Sometimes what I'll do too, what I've done when I've sold this before, is also trim just a little bit off of the outside bars as well, so that you get that nice ridge texture on every single bar. But since this is just going to be either for our use or for gifts, I'm not going to do that. And here is what the finished bar looks like. So nice ridges, beautiful creamy white soap. It smells amazing. And then you have the fun little layer of lavender flowers on the top. And then the very last step in making this cold process tallow soap is to let it cure. So there's two different types of soap that you can make, cold process or hot process. I really love cold process because I like the way that the bars look so much better. I like it that it doesn't use a bunch of heat, so that the properties of the different oils that you're using don't get lost from a high heat that it goes through. So my personal favorite is cold process, and that's what this recipe is. With hot process, you would heat it and then keep stirring it periodically until it completes that process of converting all of the fat into soap, and then it's done in like the same day. But with cold process, that process of the lye converting the fats and oils into soap takes place over a long period of time, slowly, and then you just get a nicer looking bar, I think, and you retain all those great benefits from the nice tallow that you're using. So the next step to complete that cold process is curing. So this takes 4 to 6 weeks, and you want to have the bars in a place with plenty of airflow around them, just like a cool, dry location somewhere in your house, and just room temperature is fine, in a place where they have good airflow around the bars. So what I will do is I'll get a cardboard box and put the bars in there, making sure there's a little space in between each one, and then set it somewhere where I know it's not going to be disturbed, and let it sit there for 4 to 6 weeks. And then after that time frame is up, it is ready to use, and it's great for giving as gifts. You can wrap a little bow around it. You can make your own labels for it. I actually have some printable labels that I designed. I'll have a link to those down in the description. But anyway, I hope that you enjoy this. It's such a fun recipe. It's really fun to tweak it and try different essential oils or herbs, or keep it plain, or whatever you want to do. I also have more soap recipes. I have a tallow mixed with other oils soap recipe on my website and channel. And that one's great because it includes things like coconut oil that really give lots of abundant lather, and olive oil that helps the bar just really harden up and be very stable over a long period of time. So that can be really fun to try. I also have a tallow shampoo bar recipe, which I absolutely love. And I'll link some of those down below if you'd like to check them out. But I hope that you give this a try. Let me know. You can tag me on Instagram. There's a link to my Instagram down in the description. Take a picture of your soap. Let me know how it turned out. I would love to see. I also have other things down in the description box that I've made for you. There's ebooks down there, free ebooks, lots of goodies, so definitely check that out. And then also I have the full written instructions and a printable recipe card for this recipe in the description that you can grab to make it really easy to make yourself. And then also, like I mentioned, all of the supplies and ingredients that I use are linked down there as well, so that you can easily get them. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. It helps my channel. And if you enjoy these types of slow living, from scratch lifestyle and everything that I'm making in my farmhouse kitchen, stay tuned for more content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.